It is 1:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. NFL free agency officially begins in just a couple of hours, and the Titans are already reportedly making some moves in the legal negotiation window. Yesterday, the team reportedly agreed to terms with safety Xavier Woods and punter Johnny Hekker, and today reportedly agreed to terms with Nashville native wide receiver Van Jefferson. In former Titans news, a pair of former Titans wideouts have found new homes as Nick Westbrook-Akine will be signing a 2-year deal with the Miami Dolphins, and DeAndre Hopkins signed a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. The SEC men's basketball tournament has kicked off downtown at Bridgestone Arena with Arkansas leading South Carolina 47-30 at halftime in the opening game of the tournament. Texas will take on Vandy in the 2:30 game. LSU and Mississippi State will go head-to-head at 6 o'clock, and Oklahoma and Georgia face off in the nightcap scheduled to tip off at 8:30. You can catch both of this evening's games right here on The Zone following 3HL. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, we're live from Bridgestone Arena for the NCAA SEC tournament, where Arkansas currently leads South Carolina 47-30 at halftime here at Bridgestone. I feel like I kind of need a booster seat in these seats. He's feeling a little low for me.
Oh, I know. You got, but just every time something goes wrong, blame Kirby.
Blame Kirby.
Yep. He didn't give us our booster seats that we requested via email. It's all documented.
I mean, we are by far the shortest show on the station. We need some booster seats.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That hell, that led to a lot of
I think the only person on this station shorter than us is actually Don Davenport.
Oh.
Because I think Kayla's actually shorter than CJ. I don't know.
CJ.
I haven't really stood next to CJ over here. Okay, so Blaine.
Please tell me, who did the Titans sign?
Well,
I want to feel happy today because I'm feeling very, very nauseous and sick right now.
Well, I have no good news for you. So, but I will say this. As we reported yesterday after our conversation with Coach Mack, Johnny Hekker ended up getting signed. Ryan Stonehouse let go at punter. Yeah. And so this morning at 7:32 a.m., I get a phone call from my dad, who knows that he's not supposed to call me before 8 a.m. Okay,
you got him on
there's a lot that goes on, and a lot of stuff that he calls me for could be just done in a text.
Okay.
7:32 a.m. and he's probably been up since at least 5 a.m.
Yeah. So he's on my time.
Words out of it, not even hello. It is the words out of his mouth are, "Why did the Titans let go Ryan Stonehouse?" So this man has been stewing on that since 5 a.m. Maybe even yesterday, but probably let's say 5 a.m. this morning.
Just like all the fans.
Worried about Ryan Stonehouse. And I go, Dad, it's all right. He could just kick the ball really far. That's about it. And they're not going to pay a punter $3 million.
Yes, that is true.
But I just thought it was funny. It's like 7:32 a.m. I mean, we woke up probably at 6:50 that morning. I was reading it's Comic Book Wednesday. I'm a nerd, so I was reiding my new comic books and stuff.
All right, let's go.
And here I get a phone call, 7:32 a.m., and it's basically the chat called me this morning at 7:32 a.m.
You sure it wasn't Bananas? He didn't even call him that?
I'm sure.
What do they call him? Zeth, Ron Slay and those guys.
Yeah.
What was Stonehouse's average per kick?
Well, we'll have our stat boy look it up.
That's what he's doing, and I'm, and I get what the fans are talking about because Stonehouse was actually one of the things you could say that was positive on a note on average.
I get that, and here's my response to that.
But he wasn't a directional kicker. He was coming off, 2 years of an injury, and he probably never got back to form. He probably was a little paranoid. I get it. You got hit on his leg. I would be very shocked that most fans would be not upset that they let him go. But at the same time, if you look at the dynamics of the team and what they're asking with the new special teams coach and how much pay probably Stonehouse would want, then they had to let him walk.
So what's his average there?
So Ryan Stonehouse in 2024 had an average of 38.3.
Well, now, where did that put him?
38.3 had him at 28th in net punting. He was third in yards per attempt, but 28th in net. He was 8th in total attempts, but 27th in punts inside the 20, which means he had one of the highest amount of punts, but wouldn't get them to where they needed to go.
Right.
He got blocked twice, which was the most in the NFL. He had the most punt return yards.
Well, that's not his fault.
Allowed. Well, kind of, because of the hang time.
I'm talking about block.
Oh, the block punts.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I was late.
Sorry. The most punt return yards allowed in the NFL by 123 yards.
Because he was out kicking his coverage.
He was out kicking his coverage.
With no
he
hang
was
time.
first in punt and percentage of punts returned by more than 15% to the next closest, and seventh most in touchbacks resulting from punts.
Hence why
Trying to
they
take
didn't-
my job, by the way, over here with all
right,
these
the numbers,
stats.
right. So hence why the Titans chose to go in a different direction. I know we get in love with the players' names, and some guys that have done well for the Titans, but for what they were asking him to do, he was actually became a deficit. Like, he wasn't good enough for the team because they wanted hang time and they wanted directional kicking. He couldn't even do that at times.
He was the PFF's 35th rated punter last season.
35th.
And the tender would have made him the third highest paid punter in the NFL.
And that's part of the problem.
It's
But here's
money
my,
is
here's
the
my
biggest.
thing to fans.
Okay.
Don't you want a team where now one of your favorite players or the best players on the team is not a punter? Because it's been 15 years. If you go back to Brett Kern, 15 years, the punter has maybe been the best player year in and year out for your team. It's time to get better if you're the Tennessee Titans. Let's aim higher. That's my motto for 2025. Let's aim higher, because I am done with the punter being one of the top 5 players on this team, oftentimes the best player on this team. So I'm done with that. And listen, they're not off to a great start. I know that we're saying it. Let's get better players that are not the punter.
All right, now, hence, Bananas, give us the guy that they signed, right?
Johnny Hekker.
Hekker, right? And then you'll then see the difference of what they really want out of a punter and why they went in a different direction and for cheaper. So this was actually one of the moves I would say I would concur with. As much as I like Ryan Stonehouse personally, too, myself, he's the better option. You would think. I hope that the stats better back this up.
So, Johnny Hekker...
Oh, we can't hear you.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay, so Johnny Hekker in 2024 with Carolina, his net punting average was 41.5, which is significantly higher than Ryan
There we go.
Stonehouse's. He had 24 punts inside the 20.
Those are killers to teams right there.
Out of 73 punts. So 24 of his 73 punts got inside the 20-yard line last year.
And he played for Carolina last year,
Correct.
right? So not a fantastic
That's a team.
offense by either
So
means.
he got a lot
Better
of
than the
opportunity.
Titans, but not a fantastic offense by any means.
So when you compare those stats, Bananas, what would you say is the biggest difference?
That Johnny Hekker knows how to place the ball, and that's what Ryan Stonehouse struggled with last year, and it's kind of what they tried to get onto him about. You mentioned
Even on a Vrabel,
Yep.
the same thing.
You mentioned the hang time, so it looks like they traded power for finesse.
Right. And that hence then makes him a more all-around better punter. Granted, you have to have a booming leg, but there are times we need you to place the ball, directional kick, and put it inside the 20, and I just think Stonehouse just wasn't great at that, and it just never got to that. And that's how you pin guys down in the inside the 20, and then hence you get turnovers, you get pressure, stadium gets loud, the quarterback can hear, a mistake is bound to happen. Instead, they get it on the 25.
I mean, you've had 2 different coaching staffs come in and try to get him to be a directional,
It's
to
hard.
improve his game, not
Yes.
change his game.
Right.
To improve
Well
upon
said,
his
right there.
game.
Right there, that's
right?
it.
So you've had 2 different coaching staffs, so 3 years try to improve his game, and he's never done it. Now, is that just a inability to be able to do so? Is that on the coaching staff, or is that on the player? Like, I can understand that there's a lot of variables surrounding it, but when there's one constant and a couple of different variables, you should be looking at the one constant. And I'm not saying that he wasn't great for the Titans.
Yes.
Like I said, I mean, he's probably arguably your top 5 most dependable player all 3 seasons. That's still not good. because he's not that good. Get what I'm saying? Like, he's dependable. He can kick it far. But, again, we're talking about making the Tennessee Titans an NFL caliber team and not some AAA minor league bullcrap. And right now, so there's a AAA minor league bullcrap.
I'm trying to equate, like, what other positions you can. It's really hard. But quarterback's easy to do, but it's just not realistic. A quarterback that can throw deep, but they can't throw a curl route.
Yeah.
You know, when you need to play.
Okay, what about DK Metcalf, right? So DK Metcalf, let me go with me on this.
Okay.
I saw this today, and let me see if I can find it again. But DK Metcalf, you know, in Clint Kubiak's system, off play action, they run 3 routes off play action, and one of them's a high cross, another cross, and something else. I can't remember what the 3 were.
Okay.
He ran 7 of those routes total last year for the old Seattle Seahawks system. That's why they were okay with getting rid of him, because he can't do what they need him to do. That does not mean he's not a great player. Does not mean he's not a great wide receiver, but if you can't do what the system is going to demand of you at a high level consistently, then you're not a fit for this team. And that's what you got to look at. This isn't just a issue with just a punter, but this is an issue across all positions, in all teams, on all staffs, in certain situations.
Yeah, and it's something that I value a lot in players. They got to continue to evolve.
Right.
And that way you don't come in and say, this guy just runs deep balls. That's why I want, let's say, receivers. I want all the receivers to be able to do all the same things. That way you don't give any hint to the defense. Being a former defensive player, I knew exactly. I'm going to give you an example. Even an elite player, Hall of Fame player, when he was a young player, Randy Moss. Guess what my scouting report said? He never ran routes inside the numbers. Remember this at Vanderbilt Stadium. He's only going to run the routes outside the numbers. And a lot of times he just outran people. But guess what? He didn't have the full route tree. So it made it easier. He was just super athletic and fast. So I think that's kind of what you're saying about DK Metcalf. Maybe a little bit more route tree dynamics to him.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. And when you start studying film of players and the offense and what he's really good at, these are the things that players come up with like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you say, well, hi, that guy's a good player, but how did he do so well versus one of the elite athletes in the league? And that's because you need diverse route tree by the players. And those diverse guys are the ones that have longevity in the league. And that's why.
You can't get complacent in the NFL.
Right. And so
Now,
and what
find-
happens, he had success, and that's why he became complacent. Yeah.
And this is not a league
So
where
Stonehouse.
complacency is okay. So you got to continue to be working on your craft 24/7
Yeah.
in the off season. Listen,
We got to give Stonehouse
how many
a pass,
vacations
though.
a
He
week?
was hurt one year,
He
so it was
hurt.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard
he
to
got
do
hurt
that.
late in the year.
Yeah.
But like we got to understand though, you are allowed to get better, and you're allowed to add to your game. And if you do not add to your game, you're going to find yourself out on the street or on a different team, because your situations all matter. When we come back, we'll be joined by Nick Faribaugh. He covers the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk to him about Dan Moore, Van Jefferson. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Stores, 615-737-1045. Arkansas is playing South Carolina here at the SEC basketball tournament down here at downtown Nashville, here at Bridgestone Arena, where Arkansas currently leads 57-43 with 14 minutes and 36 seconds left in the second half, according to my ESPN app, which is always delayed. But what's not delayed is that Tennessee Titans in free agency have signed both Dan Moore and Van Jefferson, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're on the phone now with Nick Farabaugh. You can follow him on Twitter at FarabaughFB. He's the Steelers beat reporter for PennLive.com and host of Steelers Breakdown, also on the Penn Live YouTube channel. Nick, I just want to start out and say, what the heck are y'all doing at quarterback?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah.
It's like the
Oh my!
it's like the wheels are turning again. Every single year, it somehow just becomes a new adventure. Either it's old Ben Roethlisberger, it's the adventures of Kenny Pickett, it's Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and now apparently it's maybe Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. It's quarterback purgatory, and they're just throwing darts at the wheel every different year, man. What a crazy offseason this has been for them at the quarterback position.
I mean, so with Russell Wilson, I find it so interesting because they've obviously lost out on Justin Fields, who's with the New York Jets. But when the Tennessee Titans signed Dan Moore, all we heard about was that Russell Wilson is the reason for his high sack problem, which is a conversation for later on. But if that is the case, and you guys went 6-5 down the stretch with Russell Wilson, and he's an issue on that offense in terms of sacks and pressures, why would you all even entertain bringing him back? Is it just out of desperation at that point?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the only options to bring him back. Now, listen, Russ also kind of on his way out, as Russ does, rub people the wrong way. So there's more than just the on-field stuff. The off-the-field stuff isn't even perfect either. So Russ is the reason they're bringing Russ back is just because he also kind of fits what they do, I guess, right? DK Metcalf, George Pickens. You can build the whole offense out of moon balls for, I guess, a few weeks if you really wanted to. But it's desperation, man. They are desperate at that quarterback spot. They don't like the draft option, so they're not going to make some desperate trade up to go get Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or whatever. Even if they fall to 21, I don't think they're really going to pick them. So it's kind of like, who's going to bridge the gap here? They wanted that to be Justin Fields. They got outbid by the Jets, and so now it's Rodgers or Russ, and that's kind of where they're at. It is a desperation pull by the Steelers, but they're going to try and do their best this year. We'll see what goes on, but it is not a good spot to be in at quarterback.
So it says in your Twitter bio that you're an offensive line enthusiast. The Tennessee Titans have signed Dan Moore, where there's $50 million guaranteed paid out in the first 2 years of his contract, but he's getting paid over $80 million over a course of 4 years. I went back through your tweets and wanted to see what you thought about him during games. And there was a tweet where you said that over the last 2 months, this was during the last Cincinnati game where he was getting beat by Trey Hendrickson, but you said Trey Hendrickson is a great player, but he has regressed over the last 2 months of the season. What is your overall, and I don't really care about run blocking at this point, and I know that's a major pro with him, but in terms of pass blocking with Dan Moore, what do you give for the reason that his play declined over the back half of the season last year?
It's really fascinating because in the first half of the year, he appeared to be pretty technically proficient. It looked like he had taken a step. He got stronger over the offseason. I think that was a big part of it. So he was anchoring more consistently. He lets guys get into his chest. He plays with wide hands, but the hands weren't becoming as wide. He was getting good punch timing, getting inside, playing with solid pad level. And then in the second half of the year, he faced a tougher slate of pass rushers. Faced Myles Garrett, of course, in there twice. Trey Hendrickson twice. He faced those Ravens edge rushers, Odafe Oweh, Kyle Van Noy, and it just went off the deep end. The hands became sloppy. He got outside and wide and allowed guys into his chest and just got bullied back. He stopped anchoring on power rushes, and then he started oversetting and allowing the inside or the outside window to get open. His hips were never kind of in line with the rest of his body, so sometimes he was a waist bender and got bent forward and got beat real clean. On a lot of the real clean reps, happens is he gets too aggressive and tries to vertically set and get really way up on those edge rushers, and it can go real ugly. The Steelers like to do that with him because when he's kind of patient, he's more of a body catcher than an aggressor. He doesn't really get his full length out there, and he has the length to do it, but he kind of alligator on it sometimes. So they said, go be aggressive, go up there, but it resulted in some real ugly reps. Early in the season, he had consistency there, but it really just fell off quite quickly when you got to the premier edge rushers. My guess is it's probably those premier edge rushers, guys like Hendrickson and Garrett, all those really good players getting the tape on him and starting to realize what he was doing to try to mitigate his weaknesses and coming up with counters on him. You saw them kind of swat those hands down, get him overextending, and then at that point, he was kind of crawling back into his hole and going back into the usual deeper sets, but he was oversetting at times, undersetting, allowing the outside gate to be open. So there's a lot that went wrong there with Dan Moore. It was kind of like a domino effect. One thing went wrong, and then it just kind of all fell apart.
Has that been his MO throughout his entire career there? I mean, he's been there since he's been a fourth-round pick. He's played a lot of snaps for you guys over the years. Has that been his MO, and is that why they've kind of tried to find tackles in the first round to try to replace him because he does show that lack of consistency or that burnout towards the end of the season?
I wouldn't say he burned out towards the end of the year. This was kind of a one-year phenomenon. Throughout the rest of his career, I would say he's been pretty consistently below average. I think that's what I would say. And yes, that's why they've drafted Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. And because, listen, Dan Moore just hasn't been the answer to them. He hasn't been a consistent pass protector. You know, you talk about the run blocking, he has been a plus there for them. But his consistency has been all up and down. You know, he's a high-character football player. He'll work really hard. So he's improved steadily a little bit over his career. But it has never come together to make him anything more than just what I would consider a fine spot starter, a fine guy that you can kind of call up in a time and moment. He's not going to be a top-flight tackle for you, in my opinion. That's why they moved on from him. This lack of consistency, these clean losses that he would experience throughout his career became a real problem. And so that is exactly why they've invested so heavily in the offensive tackle position.
So when it was announced that he's getting $50 million over the first 2 years, the instant reaction from Pittsburgh Steelers analysts, fans in the city is what?
I think everybody was a little shocked, to say the least. We did not, Steelers fans, Steelers beat writers, everybody knew what Dan Moore was. At best, when he is playing at his best, he's an average tackle. That's what he is. He can hold up and he can be fine for you, but this is not a needle mover. I mean, so to give him $20 million, I mean, he got more than Ronnie Stanley. I know Ronnie Stanley had $24 million offers out there, but that is crazy. And so I just think, this is a move where if you're trying to get competency at a tackle position, he can bring it at times, but he's not going to bring it all the time. It's probably going to be one of those deals where I think you're going to look back on it and say, man, what was going on there? The only good thing I could say is he has improved. He's a diligent worker. He's gotten better since his rookie year every year. His last year, the sack numbers were up, but I thought it was his best year of his career. So maybe he can continue on that trajectory. But man, it was a bit of a shocking twist, to say the least, to see him get that much money.
We're on with Nick Faribault, Steelers beat reporter for PennLive.com, offensive line enthusiast and host of Steelers Breakdown.
Well, Nick, thanks for coming on, man. First and foremost, Arthur Smith, the OC, was a former OC here with the Titans at one point in time, and I'd love to hear how you guys view his offensive scheme and system and what changes does he need to make, or do you guys think he needs to make to be successful next season?
Yeah, I mean, Arthur Smith has been a fascinating offensive coordinator. I think he could use a better scheme to fit to his players. I thought this year he kind of tried to fit Najee Harris into a wide zone scheme, and they didn't really put a lot of gaps up. I'd like to see a more modernized run scheme. You look at guys like Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson, really successful run offensive coordinators, really mixing in a lot of gaps. I would like to see that more. Jalen Warren's very good at that too. The Steelers have an athletic offensive line, but they also have a really good pulling offensive line with the guys they invest in. So I would like to see that. I thought the biggest thing with him I thought he brought a new twist to the Steelers, having condensed formations, having more motion in his offense. The drop-back passing game was definitely catered to Russell Wilson, so we'll see. I think a lot of the Arthur Smith staples that you guys might be familiar with in Tennessee, you may not have seen last year because it was very kind of put into what Russell Wilson likes. So I would like to see him kind of bring some of that back if they can get – if Aaron Rodgers is there, for example, I think that they could bring some of that back, some of their more dynamic play-action concepts, because the play-action game was really just rollouts and kind of cut the field in half, two deep route combinations. I'd like to see a more diverse kind of out there on the play action thing, and then play sequencing. I'd like to see more early down passing this year, if they can do that, because they will have wide receiver talent. They will have passing game talent this year with DK Metcalf now coming in, and they're probably not done at wide receiver. So I think his scheme is more modernized than someone like Mac Jones was. How could it not be? But there are things that he can definitely tweak, and I'd like to see him fit it to the personnel a little more this upcoming season.
Talk a little bit about Arthur Smith, and we saw a lot of this on social media and guys there in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields' relationship with Arthur Smith. How did you view their relationships with those quarterbacks?
Yeah, I thought Arthur Smith's relationship with Justin Fields was great. I thought he loved having that quarterback run game design part of it. He became very heavily reliant on the QB run game whenever Marcus Mariota was there in Atlanta, and he really just transferred that to Justin Fields. But with Russell Wilson, obviously that was gone. Arthur Smith and I think Russell Wilson definitely had a strained relationship. I think, Arthur Smith's I want you to do things in structure. I want you to kind of hit this read, and just do it as it's drawn up on the playbook. You know how Russell Wilson is. He's a little bit of a backyard football guy. He runs around, tries to make plays. Can't do it as much anymore because now he's 36. And so that kind of got them into some really sticky situations and third and longs. And I think that strained their relationship. Eventually, when Russ just started falling off on the deep ball side of things, the moon balls, they really shortened the playbook. And they took away Russell Wilson's ability to do things at the line, hot route and change play calls. You could still do things like hand calls that are built into the play call or change protections, but he didn't have the veteran's freedom that you would expect someone like Russell Wilson to have. And that really hit their relationship, I think, hard. I think, you asked Arthur Smith, he probably would have had Justin Fields out there for most of last season. So I really do think that is where that went. And so Arthur Smith and Justin Fields had a great relationship. I think he loved working with Justin Fields. With Russell Wilson, though, I think he felt his scheme was limited and his options were limited.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Nick Farabaugh. Now, Nick, that covers the Pittsburgh Steelers, have to ask you, they signed Metcalf. That seems awesome. Great player, awesome athlete. But, man, how does that affect Pickens? Because I don't know either one of these guys, but they play very emotional and at wide receiver, and that can be very damaging to the quarterback. How do you see in that working there with the way that the Steelers operate with their head coach Tomlin?
A real quick follow-up question. Who will have the most penalties between the two?
That's a crazy question because I think since 2021, these are 1 and 2 in penalties for wide receivers, which is crazy. Yeah, it is a tough needle to thread. They are emotional, but Mike Tomlin is no stranger to emotional at wide receiver. Look at the draft history for the Steelers, and you look at their semi-good wide receivers they drafted. Who is the last one that you're like, that's a normal guy? Just like a normal, low-maintenance guy. I mean, they just go for these types of receivers. The emotional side of it is something Mike Tomlin manages. I mean, I could see Pickens getting traded. I don't think that's crazy to think about, considering how much of a kind of high maintenance player he's been. He's been late to meetings. He was late to the Chiefs game Christmas Day. They're not going to pay him this offseason. And if you can't pay George Pickens, I think that could be really ugly. This could be this offseason's Brandon Ayuk situation where he's holding it in and things get real ugly. So would not be surprised there if that happened. But if they stay together, I mean, they're going to have to try and feed these guys targets, just deep balls, just go balls, 9 routes, different things like that. It's going to be tough. They're dangerous on paper. Theoretically, you force the teams into too high and force them to respect the deep ball, and then you can run the ball. It sounds great, but when you have these two emotional players, these two guys that want theirs, it can get pretty tough.
And lastly, just staying with the receivers, homegrown player here from Nashville, hasn't reached the heights that, you expected from Justin Jefferson there. What was he like there? I saw his numbers. He continues to kind of go down since his time with the Rams, but, they signed him to a modest contract, 1-year deal. What was he like there? Very good guy, but what did you think of him as a player? Did he have any impact, do you think?
I'm going back to one thing. I forgot to answer who will get the most penalties. It'd be Metcalf is my guess.
Well, that's just because you think Pickens is going to hold in.
Yeah. I mean, DK is even crazier than George sometimes on the field.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I do think so. George is crazy when he gets to the sideline. When I view Van Jefferson, super high character guy. He does the dirty work. He became a really good blocker this year. Kind of didn't come in with that reputation. He started to really dig out guys in the run game and do a lot of dirty work things that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet. I think that's a plus. As a pure receiver, though, he doesn't really run great routes. That was kind of his thing. But he's kind of lost a step, whether it was injuries or whatever. He's not got the same pure speed that he had with the Rams, where he was this kind of deep threat that could win down the field. He's more of a kind of gritty catcher against zone coverage. He's very smart, so he can settle down in zones. He can work inside or outside, so he has some versatility in terms of alignment. But when you're looking at Van Jefferson, this guy is very much a wide receiver 4 or 5 skill set that can do some dirty work things for you. The blocking, he's got good hands. I think that's a thing. So he's a reliable receiver. When you throw him the ball, he will catch it. He's very tough. He's a very reliable player. He's a high character guy, so he'll be good in the locker room. But if you're expecting this guy to even give you 500 receiving yards, I think that's ambitious. He was casted to wide receiver 2 role for the Steelers last year, quickly passed up by Calvin Austin III.
My boy from Memphis, by the way.
Yeah, Memphis guys, man. And Steelers love themselves some Memphis guys. Calvin passed him up quickly. He even got passed up once Mike Williams came in. Mike Williams only played 15 snaps per game, but made far more plays on his limited chances. So I think Van Jefferson can be a quality depth head, but if he's in the wide receiver 2 mix, I think there's a problem.
Yeah, and I might have said Justin Jefferson. I want to make sure I said Van Jefferson. Sorry about that. Now, T.J. Watt, he got some injuries last year. How much does he kind of hurt the defense when he's not out there? How much is revolved around, his skill set being a special player, Hall of Fame type player?
Everything is on tap with TJ. I think he's the big thing, but they didn't move him around at all last year. I don't know how much, you can expect him to go off when he's lining up wide, knocking over the right tackle, and guys are running condensed splits to him. They're chipping him, and they're shifting the alignments to him. So he was getting, chipped, hit with the kind of stock block right off the line, and then getting double teamed sometimes. Like, that was the attention he was getting. It was insane. It's not like the Steelers didn't have other players. I mean, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton are all extremely good players. But T.J. Watt was just not moving around. So they didn't do the things that, you see other star edge rushers doing. Like, you see Myles Garrett lining up over the A gap or the B gap, switching sides even, right? He wouldn't go to the left tackle side at all. So that's a big part of it. But everything works around what T.J. Watt does. If he's having a great game, he's the guy that steps up in those big moments. He's the guy that gets the forced fumble when the Steelers need it. When the momentum's going the other way, he gets that key sack. He is that guy. And some injuries kind of came up last year. He had that pretty bad ankle injury against the Eagles, and he had a thumb injury that hurt him too. So the injuries definitely hurt him, but the amount of attention he was getting last year, there's got to be an evolution in his game. He's been a speed rusher for a long, long time. He's 30. He's got to get back to kind of getting deeper in his bag. He has them in his bag. He's just been able to win with one method throughout his career. Teams are starting to kind of give him curveballs now. I think this is going to be the offseason of evolution for T.J. Watt.
I just want just a quick question. In practice, Dan Moore Jr. versus T.J. Watt, how did that look over these last 4 years? Did it look bad, or did it look like, he'll be okay?
Well,
I know it's practice.
As I said, they didn't really face much because T.J. only rushed over the right tackle, and Dan doesn't like playing right tackle. When Dan played right tackle, it didn't look very good.
Okay.
TJ, even when he went to the left side, routinely won that. Dan Moore in training camp when he faced Alex Highsmith, who's another really good edge rusher, did have competitive reps, but I'd say Highsmith won more of those. Even Nick Herbig, who's the Steelers' kind of superstar little speed rusher, I would say got the better of Dan Moore. I think it definitely looked like Dan Moore was not on the caliber level of a TJ Watt throughout his time in Pittsburgh.
Just real quick, I know that we got, with Dan Moore, a lot of people think, okay, well, he was average at his best, but now he's coming with Bill Callahan over here to the Tennessee Titans, and maybe he can work on all the techniques that you kind of summed up at the top of your segment. But here's my question. What is the reputation of the Steelers' offensive line coach? I mean, probably most people in Tennessee don't know who he is. What's his reputation? I mean, is he high regarded? Is he a great teacher? Because that matters, or if he's been the same guy that's been there for Dan Moore for 4 years.
Yeah, Pat Meyer is I would call not highly regarded. They kind of move guys around and play them at different positions that they're maybe not comfortable at. Now, Dan Moore is most comfortable at left tackle, so that wasn't the case with him. But there's also kind of mixed results with it. Zach Frazier and Mason Former came in and had really good rookie years. Dan Moore has improved steadily over time, but I would not call, for example, Bill Callahan, who is obviously thought of as one of the best O-line coaches in the NFL. He's certainly no Jeff Stoutland or no Bill Callahan. I would say he's probably a middle tier, lower to the pack as well, offensive line coach. So certainly I think if you get with a top-tier offensive line coach, I think there could be reasons for upside with Dan Moore. He's got the physical nature to do it. He's got the demeanor, the coachability to do it. And again, if he can get his hands right, I think he can be a solid starter. We'll see where that goes. But for right now, his ceiling has just been average. And I do think Pat Meyer's inability to kind of take that out of him has been a big part of that.
See, I was able to find some positive about Dan Moore throughout this conversation. It took us a while, but I got there. Nick Faribault, Steelers beat reporter for PennLive.com and host of Steelers Breakdown and offensive line enthusiast. We appreciate your time, Nick.
Yeah. Thanks Nick.
All right, thanks. When we come back, we'll break down what he had to say. We'll talk about NWI choosing Miami over Tennessee. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Hey ho.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We had a great interview, and if you missed it, you got to go to wherever you get your 1045 The Zone podcast, or come back here on YouTube and rewind to it. But my gosh, Nick Faribault was fantastic. I mean, he let it all hang out on everything about the Steelers, from Dan Moore to Van Jefferson to Art Smith, DK Metcalf. We covered all the bases.
Harris even.
Yeah, we covered all the bases. But what I thought was interesting was obviously...
Is this going to make me cry?
Well, I don't know.
As a Titan guy?
I mean, you gave me a look when he said it, but he said over his career, he's been consistently a below-average player.
Dan Moore Jr.
And that is why they have been trying to replace him with first-round tackles, Broderick Jones and Troy Fountainoh from Washington, for the last 2 years. And, Troy got injured, and Broderick Jones didn't really live up to the hype either, and he's been struggling as well. So, Dan Moore kind of had it easy, sort of, as easy as an NFL player could in a competition battle, to getting the starting spot. And he's been below average with it. Now, he did say every year he's been incrementally improving, but that word incrementally does not mean he's been taking leaps and bounds, right? Mm-hmm. Small improvements year over year, and he's a fourth-round draft pick.
But then he said he kind of dropped off there at the end of the season.
He did. He improved pretty well at the first part of the season, and we really didn't get into it, but it kind of sounds like maybe the Russell Wilson effect of calling audibles, not gelling with the offensive coordinator, could have some effect on all this.
Something about 4 sacks.
Yeah. So we can say that maybe some of it's Russell Wilson, but he went down the techniques. He talked about how his hands, his anchor, and all this stuff, all the stuff that I talked about yesterday about what I saw on tape, is stuff that he saw consistently for 4 years. And he kind of became at his best last year, average at his best. And again, maybe the Tennessee Titans, all they need is average. But
that's better than what they've had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
theoretically, that's better than what they've had.
But what is he going to be for this offense in this particular scheme? With this particular staff, with maybe a rookie quarterback, or a quarterback that is worse than Russell Wilson back there.
Mobile.
Right. So, at the end of the day, the Tennessee Titans are paying $50 million guaranteed for a below-average career guy who was at his best average last year, who for the last 2 months was below average.
All right. Yeah,
save me.
It's a little scary. I have to say that. I'm just hoping that he continues the uptick, and with the touches of Bill Callahan, who even he talked about and knows, amongst all the NFL O-line coaches, is one of the better coaches. So we shall see if we'll have that impact. We did see that early on with J.C. Latham, but as time went on, he might have hit the rookie wall.
Yeah.
And then I think he was playing a little gimpy there with the ankle. When you're talking about a big guy and an ankle, that's really tough, but he fought through it. So we shall see if Bill Callahan thinks that we can make him to be a little more consistent and at least average to above average with me working with him.
Yeah.
So we shall see. Athletically, I think he fits the bill when I watch him on tape. Naturally, against the elite guys, they got him multiple times, and he was in the AFC North where they have some elite pass rushers there. But typically in the league, every team has an elite pass rusher.
Yeah, unless you're the Tennessee Titans.
So I'm hoping that they still have him on the uptick, and that we'll see the best version of himself now. It just depends.
Because he was a fourth-round draft pick for a reason,
from
right?
A&M,
you know what I'm saying? Sometimes fourth-round draft picks can turn into amazing franchise left tackles, but at some point during the first 4 years of their career, with the amount of experience that he had, you would have seen that.
I would assume so. You're right.
So I look at it and I understand the signing. I just don't like the price tag that comes along with it, because the price tag that comes along with it comes along with expectations.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're paying him like a top. His percent of salary that counts against the salary cap is 13th highest. So at worst, he is being paid like the 13th best left tackle in the league. I'm not saying he has to be the 13th best left tackle in the league, but if he's like top 20, I think that's fine. But if we're talking about a guy that's not really been top 20 when it comes to what you see on film, from a weekly basis, and that's
Yeah.
what worries me.
Yeah, and I think that's where the rubber meets the road. He has to be consistently at that spot and
Yeah.
above, in my opinion, based off of the money. Now, when you get to free agency, as I talked about yesterday, the bidding war goes, and then you go, what are our other options? I'm sure that was a conversation amongst the brass up top, and they go, we have to make this move. Who else can we go get now?
Yeah.
Because guys started getting off the
You're
board,
right.
and you go, okay, they probably already know what direction they're going with their first pick. I don't know what it is, so they say we have
think
to
they're
get a
hoping-
tackle here.
I think they're hoping that both tackle positions are at least average now.
Right.
And I think that's what they're paying for in year one, and with the hopes that maybe in year two, being with the Tennessee Titans,
They
year
continue
three
to
for J.C.
escalate
Latham,
and
but
move
they
up.
continue to move up.
Uh-huh.
We will see. That is from everything we've heard from Nick. There won't be a work ethic issue.
No.
There won't be a drive issue from
No, he's
Dan
going. You
Moore.
see him flexing in the
now-
games.
yeah.
He's
so
pumped
now
up.
it's up to him and how him and Bill Callahan work together to improve their game. How does JC respond, being said that, hey, we think you could be our franchise left tackle. Now we think you could be our franchise right tackle. How does he respond to that? From everything I know, I think he should respond very well, because either way, you got to play to get paid.
Yeah.
And so I think this will work. I think the motivation's there. Now it's about can they take the teachings of the offensive line coach and apply them to the game and improve their game. You cannot settle for what Dan Moore did last year. You cannot settle for what J.C. Latham did last year. They got to take the leap. You got to aim higher.
Well, I mean, I think that's what happens when you get guys with this athletic ability of playing the tackle. And you can't get caught up in the numbers. And I know you're a big numbers guy, but when you hit free agency, that doesn't mean he's always going to hit that barometer of what you're paying him. He's going to be that. Sometimes circumstances determine what you do. Desperate times, desperate measures. So I think that's what happened. They go, we're starting to get out of our price range. And they go, well, who else are we going to get? Other guys are getting off the
And we
board.
can't-
And then
we
there's a
can't let
panic
him
side
go
to
somewhere else.
Right. There's a
So we're
panic
gonna
here.
have to overpay
him, and to get an average, hopefully,
Hopefully.
hopefully at best.
Hopefully, God, please
and
be an
hopefully
average.
he's still on the
Yeah.
uptick with his development, and we put him with Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
He'll be all right.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about what went down with NWI late last night. He ended up in Miami, not going to be a Tennessee Titan. What does that mean for Van Jefferson and this wide receiver core? This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Did you know you're overpaying?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
It is 2:03. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. NFL free agency officially begins in just less than an hour, and the Titans are already reportedly making some moves in the legal negotiation window. Yesterday, the team reportedly agreed to terms with safety Xavier Woods and punter Johnny Hekker, and today the team reportedly agreed to terms with Nashville native wide receiver Van Jefferson on a one-year deal. In former Titans news, a pair of former Titans wideouts have found new homes as Nick Westbrook-Ikhine will be signing a 2-year deal with the Miami Dolphins, and DeAndre Hopkins signed a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Another quarterback is off the free agency market as former Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota is re-signed with the Washington Commanders on a 1-year, $8 million deal. In other NFL news, the Rams have informed wide receiver and former Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp that they will be releasing him today. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, just saw producer Joseph walk up with a big clear glass of water. I'm sure he
Where'd you get that?
The bathroom. He's trying to say he got from the water fountain, but
yeah,
he
that was
got
my
it from the
second
bathroom sink.
Yeah, I'm a water snob. It's one of my. Yeah, I don't
Blaine,
like
I found out today that Blaine would rather die than drink Dasani water.
I would not drink that. I would drink out of that faucet. Yeah. That's why I looked. You see how clear that looks? Yeah.
Yeah.
There
you go.
It doesn't look like that.
All right.
They're trying to kill us, man.
So here we are. In less than 24 hours, I guess less than 12 hours removed from NWI signing with the Miami Dolphins. The news broke last night. And then it was announced this morning that the Tennessee Titans decided to sign Van Jefferson. Now, when I started talking about Van Jefferson, because Nick knew he was coming on the show, I guess he saw my tweets about Van Jefferson because I was very negative.
Oh.
I'm not enthused, but my problem again isn't with the player or even the contract. It's the timing, because you just let Nick Westbrook-Ikhine walk, who I believe Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is getting $3.25 million per year, maybe $3.65. I have to go back and look at it. But then you go and sign Van Jefferson for a deal up to $2.5, and Van Jefferson is way worse than NWI. And that's just how it's been the last 2 years. And I look at it and I go, could your timing be even worse? Could you not just sit on the Van Jefferson signing for like a couple of days and maybe kick it to next week? Because who's trying to sign Van Jefferson right now? Like,
they're trying to soften the blow because they knew they let him go, and so they was like, "We're going to Van
That's not
Jefferson."
going to work.
That's what they were thinking. I'm telling you.
Listen, I put up this morning tired Chiefs South because we got Mike Berganzi, so we're not Chiefs South was going to be the thing.
My.
Like I like how we were Patriots South with Mike Vrabel. Wired Steelers South. That's because we got two Steelers. Like. I look at it, and NWI, I know it was reported by Terry McCormick that it was a comparable deal. I heard that it was almost the same exact deal, so pretty much the same wording. But I just want to verify I've heard the same about this Nick Westbrook-Ikhine deal, that the Titans had a deal on the offer almost just the same. And I look at it, and I go, what does that say about the Tennessee Titans or maybe even the city of Nashville? Maybe he just wanted to go to Miami is what I'm saying.
Oh. Because he is from Florida.
Yeah, but does he really seem like a good fit for what they want to do on offense? Or is it that in Miami, maybe he's a different style of wide receiver that they're looking for and missing piece? But I look at it and I go, why would you not stay with the Tennessee Titans? What went wrong that we're not aware of? Because that's my little tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. What went wrong that you've decided that, hey, I'm not going to, and there's Javondre Sweat right there, that I'm not going to take the same deal here with the Tennessee Titans?
Man, that's an interesting question, and only only NWI can really answer that question. So, man, when I look at this one kind of hurt me in that I love what NWI represents.
Yeah.
And that is hard work. He was a special team guy. Nobody knew him. He continued to get better. He was a jack of all trades. He'd run down, make some tackles. He then his role increased, to fourth wide, fifth, third wide, then second. I mean, this guy could play outside, inside. And my boy Corey Chavis right there walking by there, former Vanderbilt stud and Arizona Cardinals, man. What's going on, bro? You got it? Yeah. And so I just, that epitomizes those kind of players you want throughout your entire roster. So that's why it hurts, because everybody's not going to be the big name, big money guy. You got, 5 or 10 of those guys on your team, and then you have everybody else needs to be like NWI. And I think that's why people appreciate, I do anyway, what he brought to the table. And he really exceeded what I thought he could be, being that he showed at times that he could be a 2. I thought he could never get past a 3. And at times,
like a 2.5.
Yeah, it's still he got the most out of his talent.
Right.
That's what I love about him. And so for him to
that's missing out of your locker room.
And we need receivers.
Bryce Oliver, wide receiver 2. I tried to tell everybody last year, but here's what I said last year. I said it on the show.
Bryce Oliver, wide receiver 2.
Okay, listen.
Whoa,
bear with.
whoa.
Listen to me here.
You're moving fast.
Here we go.
You move fast. You jump in 3 years.
Yeah, I got it. There is no one better for Bryce Oliver to learn from as an undrafted free agent, Bryce Oliver, than to learn from NWI. Yep. So his growth was accelerated because of NWI. That's my positive spin on all this.
That may be true, and he could be somewhat, and maybe even
positive
a little bit better. Because I've liked everything that I've seen from him early on. But we can't put him at 2 now, maybe projected in a couple years maybe. We got to get him out there on the field consistently dressing in games instead of at the end of season.
And not just accidentally, on the field when, Calvin Ridley is, taking a breather or something, and then they call a play thinking Calvin Ridley's still out there, and it goes to Bryce. He caught it, though. Yeah. He caught it. You got to give him that.
So you got to give it to the Dolphins, a shout-out here. Think about what you just said. I think this is why he fits from the Dolphins' perspective. You have speedy guys.
Yeah, so he's something different.
And he'll go across the middle and do the dirty work. Yeah. I don't think those guys are dirty work type players. So it brings another caveat from the receiver position that they don't want to do. I just see them as speed guys, get them in the open field and let them do their work, where NWI is going to be the chain mover, the go across the middle guy to help them out. And he may make them a little bit tougher in that they see what he does and maybe they start relying on him a little bit more. I'm not saying he's going to have a big role on the team by any means, but I think he does bring something different. And then from his perspective, he's from Florida. I think I can recall because he went to IU, NWI. I think he was from Florida. And there's, income tax and all those things all factor in is the same there in Florida as there are in Tennessee. So I'm just shocked that the staff and even head coach Callahan said this, that, he may have mistaken and should have played him sooner. Well, then
it sounds like you made a mistake to not re-sign him.
Right. So then it led me down to how much does the head coach have a say-so on these decisions?
I mean, he's obviously involved in the discussion, right?
Man,
but
for this
doesn't
price,
mean much.
This price here now tells you nothing.
Right.
To me, it says nothing.
Yeah.
Like he does. How do you not match that offer?
I know. Well, that's my question.
It's not like
here.
it was a blockbuster deal. Big Al right there, Big Albert Hainsworth. In the house.
So $3.125 million per year. Okay, that's what he's getting paid. $6.25 million over 2 years. You couldn't make that $4 million per year, $8 million total to keep him here. Would he even take it? That's my other question. Is that okay? We know that the offer was on the table. Does he feel maybe a little bit of disrespect or slight that they didn't even come back to try to beat that offer?
Oh, yeah, that definitely happens. So I don't know how the negotiations went, but, yeah, with them not, doubling down and offering them, you always want to go somewhere where you know what you're going to be doing and know the staff. Maybe he thinks the staff won't be here after this year.
Maybe. Well,
like,
we don't either.
In the long run, because I can't believe
because then you're going to have a new coach that said maybe you're not that coach's guy.
A cheap option for a
But I
security
don't know. Mike
blanket.
McDaniel is kind of on the hot seat too. He's a little bit got a
Yeah, well,
lukewarm
that's
seat.
true. But different from a different perspective.
But you're
to
in
make
Miami.
playoffs.
At least you're going to probably get the ball more.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like,
They definitely have one-on-ones, that's for sure. This one
we're in
baffles
Celebrity
me.
Row, by the way. We
Yeah.
saw Tavondre Sweat, Albert Hainsworth, Chavarius Ward.
Yeah, Corey Chavis.
Oh, Corey Chavis.
Vanderbilt.
That's who I meant.
Yeah. So it is. This one kind of it hurt because they didn't match that, or maybe they did. He just
Well, we
decided
know
to
that
go.
they. I will
with the
say
Dolphins.
that from the way that Terry McCormick reported, he reported comparable. I've heard that it was pretty much the same. So pretty much the same, comparable. It's kind of a little fine
it's a
line.
little play on words, pretty much the
But
same.
like-
Could be $500,000 difference.
But I mean, why not offer more? He's worth more to your team in the long run, especially with the state of your wide receiver room, state of free agency, and how many draft picks you have. Because as right now, they're going to be having to bank on taking a wide receiver on day 3. So that means 4th round to 7th round wide receivers are on the table. Because right now, I'm looking at it seeing, okay, it's obviously going to be quarterback and edge, 1st round, 2nd round. So that means that you don't have a 3rd round pick currently. You can always get one in a trade or something, but currently you don't have that. So you're planning on day 3 wide receivers.
All right, well, GM Lions. Hold on. What does your AVV say that you should be paying a receiver of NWI's ilk?
I believe that on our
GM Lions.
Listen.
Come on now, put that hat on.
I believe on our show, on our
What'd
show,
you say?
I'm going to pull it up right now. I said that I would pay Nick Westbrook-Akine a 2-year, $8 million deal.
And they didn't do it. But
Why not
So
get
did
it done?
the Dolphins thought so.
6.25. So why couldn't you do $7 million? Why couldn't you do $8 million? Does that mean that they felt that he wouldn't accept even at those numbers, or do they have? Sounds like to me, because I go back to Javon Holland, that they have a hard line stance in these contract negotiations, and maybe they're being too hard line in these stances. And we'll talk about that when we
What
come back.
hard lines? Dan Moore Jr. didn't run hard lines.
I know. Cover
Oh.
2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons
Desperate
here on 105 The
times.
Zone as we try to figure out what the hell's going on with this team.
Help, Mayor. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, oh, it'll be ready at 4 p.m., and it's not, people are really tired of that stuff. So if you've had it with the unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because the dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, a Eurofix Reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable. And that would be Eurofix, family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But I always tell Blaine, cha-cha.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
don't want to lose my hearing. Bam!
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We're live at Bridgestone Arena where the SEC men's basketball tournament is happening. 2 seconds left in the finals of the game. It may have just been over because I'm, again, on ESPN Zap. 72-68 Arkansas. I believe Arkansas has won. And then we got Texas versus Vanderbilt coming up next. While we saw Tavondre Sweat here, he's here to root on his Texas Longhorns.
That's why.
Joseph said he was too scared to go over there and ask him to be on the show. But maybe that's why we should have had.
Not true.
Maybe we should swap out.
Not scared
we should have swapped
anyone.
out Jackson for Joseph. We should have Jackson here. Jackson would have gone. He's not scared.
Oh man, I want to see Jackson do a cartwheel back handspring. You know? Or something like that, backflip. That would be impressive. Somebody must put that on video on IG. That would be fascinating.
Let's raise money for the hospital bills first.
There you go. You got to raise money for the hospital bills is what he said.
Well, he said he can do whatever Sweat does, so why not?
So what does this offseason so far told you about the Tennessee Titans? Because, listen, this may be a situation where after a month of free agency, we finally see the vision. But right now, I see some of the moves make sense. I think Xavier Woods makes sense. I think Van Jefferson makes sense to a certain degree. I love Sebastian Joseph Day. I've come around on some Cody Barton. I still think it's too high for Cody Barton.
Oh, we didn't even get into that.
We're getting to Cody.
Okay.
We'll get to Cody Barton. Dan Moore, I still think is an overpay. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise, and I have very little faith that it's going to work out. But God, please let it work out. I cannot suffer through another bad offensive line performance for like the 4th year in a row. But I don't really understand what's going on. I'm having a hard time seeing it. But again, it's only free agency hasn't even officially started. It starts at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. But again, your words and actions should kind of align more. I feel like I'm not really feeling it right now. Not feeling the love from the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I think what's going on is they are going to be patient. So obviously they must have sold to Amy that this is not a one-year rebuild. This is going to be a process from the ground up, and I think that's how they're approaching this.
But do you think this rebuild even makes them competitive? Like that's my thing.
Well, it's not over.
Okay.
Remember that. It's not over, and they started with, okay, we got our left tackle. They got their offensive line in their minds together besides guard. You can even put a rookie guard in there, 3rd-round pick. I don't know. They don't have one. But 2nd round, 4th round, or even sign a modest veteran player in the NFL to put in that spot. So they may feel like that can happen. So O-line's done. All right. So now they say, okay, we need depth pieces. We want the NWI-like guys. If we don't get NWI, which is what happened, they got a hometown guy, Van Jefferson, or even a little bit cheaper for a 1-year stopgap guy who's probably going to be number 3 or 4 on your depth chart as far as receivers, or maybe even worse. But so I think they feel like, and then they got their safety, right, with Woods. So they're putting pieces together. I think, and if there's some other signings, some depth pieces, guys, which to me that's the foundation of your team until you get your studs in the draft.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm more curious about. They haven't filled the quarterback, so we have still no idea what quarterback looks like. Are we going forward with Will Levis and bringing him in competition, or are we going to take one with the number 1 pick?
Listen, and Mason Rudolph is not out of the realm of possibility to come back. And let me say something.
Oh, we should have asked the guy about Mason Rudolph.
Well, we should have.
Dang it.
You bring back Mason Rudolph, I question football IQ at that point.
No, remember what I said about them and the quarterback, Will Levis. The offense still looked the same.
I know.
And a veteran quarterback, I expected more, and he still did the same turnovers. And
that's why you shouldn't bring him back. Why have 2 guys that just throw turnovers?
Yeah, it was a different way. It wasn't something. They earned it.
It was boring turnovers versus exciting turnovers.
Right there, that's a good qualification there. But and so I'm more. If we're going to go down that road, let's go crazy. I've said it before. Whether it's Winston to Mac Jones.
If you're going to get a guy with turnovers, at least give me Carson Wentz or Jameis Winston. At least make it exciting.
Mac Jones, or just let's try something different.
Or just trot Will Levis back out there and just get some. I don't. I mean,
now,
like
he
at this
can
point,
improve.
just don't
He can
give me.
improve.
Just don't give me Mason Rudolph again. I don't want to have to see any game where I may have to watch boring Mason Rudolph football. I just can't do it.
You're right.
This season could be bad enough. Don't make it worse on us.
So let's just try something else.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with Mason Rudolph. But, hey, he knows the offense.
Yeah.
So there are some advantages to him, and you can get him for a cheap price.
That's
so
true.
that's everything that's involved. There's just more to it than just on field. How does he fit in the locker room? Another part of this, which they say he fit great. A lot of players love to have him around, and so that's always good. So I see them gradually, slowly, methodically getting to their place. We're just starting. It's just now official today, right?
Right. To 3 p.m., everything will become official.
And they got a lot of depth pieces on special teams. And I mean, they changed with the kicker, the punter. I'm
just laughing because I'm reaching. I understand that because that feels like
I'm reaching.
We're just trying to find some positive in this dark time.
The big nuggets aren't happening yet, and I think that's why we're feeling why we feel.
Yeah, but it seems. What if I'm kind of like more a little bit terrified?
Got the linebacker.
I'm like, what if Dan Moore is their big signing? Like that is their prize signing in terms of money.
I would probably say it is. That is. You can get used to it right now. Don't freeze. Don't freeze. It's not cold outside. That is their big signing, which is a roll the dice. They had to pay above market price. He was on the free agency, and they're hoping that he is continuing to progress under Bill Callahan to being better than just average. That is what they're hoping.
All right. I have come around on Cody Barton, the player.
Yeah, I told you.
Not Cody Barton, the price tag, but Cody Barton, the player. Okay, I still think they overpaid and we don't know really what.
You're going to say this with all free agents?
No, because I think Van Jefferson is not overpaid.
No, he may be underpaid.
No, he's definitely
because
it's an up to. It's a contract of up to.
Oh, his was up to.
Yeah, it's up to.
Oh,
that's something that kind of got lost in the reporting. So he's very expendable. So that's what people kind of have to remember is that he's very expendable. So I'm not up in arms about the signing of the player. You could have probably found a different expendable player, but again,
that was a good deal.
We'll see
for the Titans.
Maybe. I mean, he's going to have to do something.
Hey, watch this.
He's going to replace 9 touchdowns, Blaine.
No, he won't do that. That was at the high of NWI. But guess where? There's going to be pressure on Van Jefferson because he's a homegrown, so the pressure's going to come in to be the best version of Van Jefferson that we'll ever see.
That's the worst part about it, though, to me, is that now we're going to have to hear about Ravenwood 30,000 times between now and when he's cut.
Oh, well, it's one of the best programs in the state.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear about it.
Well, why not? Hey, that's always good for in-state.
All right. I will say this. On top of themes, when trying to figure out what the theme of the offseason is, durability does seem to be a key, right?
Oh, with all these players.
All these players. Yes. Xavier Woods has played I don't think missed a game in forever, if he's maybe missed one game. Dan Moore has played, I believe, 66 of 68 games. Cody Barton has been available.
Yeah, he's
so at least we have that. Like the 3 highest paid guys have been available. And sometimes the best ability is what?
Availability.
And maybe that's all right. So at least we got that. But I do want to talk about Cody Barton. And I went through and painstakingly watched.
Why was it painful? I told you this guy is a move, trigger, see ball. I got it. He understands schemes and system. Now, in the passing game, he's a little questionable.
So
but most linebackers are.
I went to PFF. So what PFF does, just in case you don't know or the audience doesn't know, they for every game, they assign a receiver's receptions to a certain defender to the best of their ability. Some of these, you kind of get one or two that are questionable, but for the most part, the NFL teams trust this tracking data and use this tracking data to make some certain decisions. So I went through and I matched up all 56 targets to the player, found that player's play in the all 22 and watched all 56 plays that are attributed to Cody Barton. Some of them I had to watch more because I wasn't sure which 5-yard reception by player was the actual 5-yard reception.
Okay.
I found that there were 14 plays. 11 targets. There are 11 targets that were either some kind of end-around jet sweep, a shovel pass to a running back up the middle in a crowded area, or a screen that Cody Barton got blamed to. So I took away those 11. So that left me with 37 of 45 targets, 37 completions, 430 yards allowed. That ups his yards per reception, but I went through and watched it all. So I'm watching good plays, bad plays, screen plays, end arounds, doesn't matter, deep plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see where he excels in the quick diagnosing and quick reaction. If it's a screen pass, an end around, a pass within that 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Either way.
I said yes, elite. No, he is elite
okay,
in diagnosis.
elite. I'm going to let you say elite.
He is elite.
And in that area, like he allowed a lot of 4 yards, 5 yard receptions, which is fine in certain situations. And these were mostly 1st and 10 situations. And most linebackers would do it, I would say. That there's very few linebackers that are going to do that.
Does Murray?
Murray probably allows more. We saw that. Because here's the thing. Where Murray misses tackles, he does not.
Yeah.
I saw maybe out of all these passes, I saw maybe 2 missed tackles whatsoever.
Right.
When
but
he's
who's
got
the better
you in his
athlete,
sight,
though?
Yeah. Well, Kenneth Murray's the better athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's got you in his sight, he'll get to you. So his coverage is kind of skewed too, because there's one game where he allowed 3 catches for 97 yards against Zay Flowers. What the hell is he doing on Zay Flowers to begin with? That is some good Todd Monken offensive coordinating right there.
And that's coaching problem.
Yeah.
That's not a
player
Barton
problem.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want to include that in there
Gotcha.
either.
Perfect.
But when you start looking at it, the problem is still going to be that what's beyond the 5 yards. Because he can diagnose it. You see him diagnosing on these plays. His body does not react to the diagnosing. Like if you put Cody Barton's diagnosing ability inside Will Levis's head, you have a quarterback. Like you have maybe an elite quarterback on your hands. His talent with Cody Barton's recognition could be an elite quarterback.
I want to see
And
this
maybe
put
that's
on
why-
X.
listen,
I want to see you put that on X.
Maybe that is why he's got paid so much, because they're going to harvest his organs to make Will Levis a quarterback.
Oh my gosh, get this guy, man! Come on now.
But I will say
wow.
where he does struggle is going to be against the athletic tight ends.
Yeah.
David Njoku took him to the woodshed all day long.
Oh,
And
no, that guy's
Njoku's
super.
good.
He's super athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's off the charts
Kyle
athletic.
Granson took him to the woodshed
For the
tight ends. He got took to the woodshed by Will Dissly of the Chargers. So tight ends in that middle area of the field, pretty much at that 7-yard mark and beyond, they got his lunch. They got him, and some of that is going to be the scheme of the offensive scheme was able to get them open, but when he's put into conflict and he has to make a decision, that's where you see it all kind of break down, similar to Kenneth Murray. He's a better version of Kenneth Murray as far as what I like from a linebacker. I like those tough, smart linebackers.
I do too, and that's what he is.
But he still doesn't have the athletic ability or the ability and coverage
Pass
that
coverage.
you're looking for this Tennessee Titans team that still does not have that.
Well, I think he's adequate, and I think when you're talking about certain linebackers and how they play, they are never going to be just really great pass cover guys. So I think that's fine for me because of what this defense needs. They need some form of consistency, and they didn't have that out of the linebacker, whether it was being available or just their play. So, especially in the run game. So I think he brings
Great
all of
run
that.
defender.
Yes.
So, because that falls into his ability to read and diagnose a screen. Like, he'll track down a tight end that's getting maybe, or a running back that's floating out of the back end, or a tight end that was staying into chip then going out to the flat. He diagnosed those guys maybe get 1 to 2 yards on average on those things. But it's that middle area of the field that teams love to attack, right? The game is almost won in that middle of the field coverage, and the Titans.
For the linebackers, for sure.
Yeah, the Titans have an issue there. They have a distinct issue when you have such a distinct weakness that other teams can exploit offensively. Why wouldn't they take advantage of that? So, why wouldn't the Titans find that position? Maybe again, it comes down to, can Denard Wilson or Frank Bush, they think well, we can turn him into a middle-of-the-field coverage linebacker, or maybe they think we'll find that guy in the draft, or we'll find that guy as a safety. I don't know. But right now, your two starting inside linebackers have that issue of that 6 yards and beyond being able to cover anybody in that area.
Right. And I think what happens here is you're looking for that perfect player.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist unless you are some phenomenal athlete with actually the same brain as what you're talking about, then in every facet of what they're asking you to do at every level of your game. That's not to say that he can't improve on those things, even if he doesn't have the athleticism. So sometimes it's just being in the right place, right time. And for me, what this team needs is consistency from, in the run game to mid-range, and then I don't ever really want to see him isolated one-on-one. I guarantee you, all linebackers are saying, hey, man, I don't want to be spit out with Ojukwu. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Ask Kenneth Murray. He's an athlete. He's a super-duper athlete. He doesn't want that. They don't even practice that.
Yeah.
So I think Barton, where you're saying he's weak, and he is, but I don't think he'll be a deficit.
Because sometimes you're kind of like, why is he over there?
Right.
I don't think he's supposed to be over there. But then PFF may credit him with a situation where, well, that's technically his guy, but the pass-off may not have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I went through and looked at every
target. This dude
target.
is super sharp and smart. When you watch him on tape, I see, oh, wow.
Yeah. And listen, I joked. He's a white linebacker. Jack Gibbons.
You did?
Yeah, Jack Gibbons is a white linebacker. So I said, well, whenever you can pay a more expensive Jack Gibbons, you got to do it. So I made a joke. Everybody took it so freaking literal.
Oh.
You know how Twitter is. But, I will say this. Over what they had last year, opposite of Kenneth Murray, except for Ernest Jones, he's better.
Yes.
And is he better enough to warrant the money? I think it's debatable. I think it could be open that he can earn that money. I think it's going to be harder for Dan Moore to earn his paycheck and live up to his expectation than it is for Cody Barton. But I do think that, if you can eliminate him being in coverage as much as possible, his coverage responsibilities as much as possible.
That's never going to happen.
Well, probably not. But you got to figure out how you can help these two linebackers.
But you are going to try not to have him.
Right.
I think what happened here is, I said I want him to be the opposites, and we saw, remember, they quietly switched Murray halfway through the season, unbeknown to us, and he was up there in pass coverage a lot and should have had 2 picks in one of the games. So I think he will be sufficient, and they'll try to eliminate.
Good hands, though, by Cody Barton, because if you throw him an easy interception, he will catch it.
Oh, a sweat. Boy, he looked like an athlete right there,
Joseph cowered. Joseph cowered a little bit.
He walked through here like, whoa, man.
Yeah.
No, they can run.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like he can go with 360.
Maybe that's the plan at wide receiver.
What?
Tavondre Sweat out wide.
Oh, well, he's going to have to lose a lot of weight there, dude.
No, you just feed it to him at the line of scrimmage, in a wide receiver screen, and just let him run. Could you imagine cornerbacks trying to figure out if they really want to tackle Tavondre Sweat out wide? I think I may have just came up with something.
How impressed were you when he ran that interception, man? That was impressive. I jumped up in the air, man. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He caught a touchdown pass. There's some athleticism there. Maybe we need to start using it. Hey, listen, Titans may have to use him at wide receiver at this point.
Oh, my. Yeah, they still have to do that, and quarterback and pass rusher.
Well, speaking of wide receivers, Tennessee Titans are being connected to another over-the-hill wide receiver.
Oh.
Let's add him to the Mount Rushmore with Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, and others. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Ooh. Struggling with joint pain, suffering from recent injury, looking to recover faster after surgery? Well, at Edge, we've got you covered. From a powerful peptide stack with BPC 157 to TB 500 to PRP treatments, stem cell therapy, and high film muscle stimulation, Edge Peptide is your go-to solution for faster healing and recovery. And as an athlete myself, I know how frustrating pain and injuries can be. That's why now is the perfect time to take control of your wellness and finally address those nagging issues. Whether it's golf, tennis, or any activity you love, don't let pain hold you back any longer. Edge specializes in regenerative treatments designed to reduce inflammation, promote tissue repair, and improve mobility, helping your body heal naturally while avoiding surgery whenever possible. And right now, we're offering a free $250 consultation with your initial treatment. And all you have to do is just go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
With Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Got a lot of people talking about Cooper Kupp and the Tennessee Titans, and I guess everybody needs to fill out that Mount Rushmore of old wide receivers with injury problems. We got Julio Jones, Tyler Boyd, Andre Johnson, Randy Moss. Let's just add Cooper Kupp to the list. What do you think?
Hey, man, there was a point in time, man, Cooper Kupp was the best receiver in the league, man. So, yeah, this was not I'd rather sign somebody that's up and coming, younger, see what we can get to. I got you. Now, if we were a veteran team, playoff contending team, perfect Cooper Kupp. Certain situations decide to me if certain players fit. I think you're right. I think, he's at the end. Now, maybe a 1 year, maybe super motivated. We can get him and, has a huge impact. But the likelihood of that, based off the last 3 years, he's been injury prone. And that's I don't think that's a good recipe for the Titans.
Yeah, so what's interesting, though, in all these rumors, there's been a lot of rumors that the Green Bay Packers could be interested on Cooper Kupp. Now, what's interesting about that is obviously the Green Bay Packers, for those that may not know, have a really young core of wide receivers.
Didn't they trade one of them?
They haven't yet. So there were talks about Romeo Doubs.
Right.
So that's where I was going to go, is that, okay, let's say that you're the Tennessee Titans. You see that Cooper Kupp signs with the Green Bay Packers. Shouldn't you be on the phone, like most people in the NFL that needs a wide receiver, and try to trade for Romeo Doubs, who's on the last year of his rookie contract? He's only going to cost you $3.5 million against the cap, $3.4 in cash, and he is 25.
What is his value, though, in trading?
I mean, he's really good. I mean, like, the issue over there has been maybe instability with health at the quarterback position as well. But when I'm looking at Romeo Doubs, I'm thinking, okay, that's a guy, maybe he's at best a wide receiver too. But if you were to maybe to do a 6th-round pick swap, a 5th-round pick swap, a 4th-round pick swap, kind of similar to what the Ravens did with Morgan Moses and the Jets last year, for a guy on the last year of his contract, that instantly makes your wide receiver room better, because he is a better, younger wide receiver than what you could get probably out on this market right now, outside of maybe Elijah Moore.
Well, why don't you just go sign Elijah Moore? Don't give up any capital.
Well, I would be. That's why I say a swap. Yeah. So you're just dropping a few spots. But I'm with you. That's kind of why the Van Jefferson signing's a little annoying to me, is because, man, why don't you just go spend a little bit extra to get Elijah Moore? Nothing to say that they still couldn't.
Yes, they can.
But why not go get Elijah Moore? So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, because, they just don't. To me, I don't want to give up any collateral or capital. That's why I say that. Nothing against the Dobbs. I think he's a real good player. And then why would they want to Green Bay trade him at this point in
because
time?
they got rid of Cooper, or they got Cooper Kupp, is what I'm saying.
Oh, they're signing, but yeah. I don't think that. I thought
because then you would have Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, Romeo Doubs.
Christian Watson tore his ACL. See, you don't know what you're going to get. He's a speed guy. Sometimes that kind of impacts them. So I would say they're not in play for Dobbs. I just don't.
I know that there was a little bit of because you said wasn't he rumored in the trade and a little bit discontent.
It was.
It's about getting targets.
It was somebody that they didn't even dress one of the games.
It was him. That's what I'm saying. It's Dobbs.
So we want to be bringing a disgruntled, undisciplined receiver.
Young receiver, hey, listen, he just wants the ball thrown his way. Let's get a diva in here.
I mean, man, when you're trying to grow the foundation, I don't want any parts. Remember, that's why I said I don't want DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
That's not the recipe for when you're trying to grow a young team. If you had a veteran team and we're a playoff team, that guy's going to come in and guess what? We'll straighten him out. Yeah. We'll get him where he needs to be. He's going to do his role, and that's it. So I think that's a dangerous deal when you're talking about. You can't just look at the actual player's talent. You also have to see how he fits into the locker room of what you're trying to accomplish as an organization. That's why I say the overview. Just can't look at the talent. The talent is there. DK Metcalf is super talented. There's no way I would want him in the locker room at the point in time where the Titans are at today. No way. Veteran team, playoff contending.
What if they
team?
had the NWI and then made the trade? Because do you think NWI could be that presence?
See, no.
No. Okay.
No. It's not just about the players. It's about where the organization is at. Right. We're at the bottom tier, and a guy like that is going to come in and be like, he's going to say, I demand the ball.
Yeah.
And then I don't want no selfish part of any player in this locker room where we're trying to build something.
Yeah.
See, that's DK Metcalf. That's even as talented as George Pickens is. No way, no how. And he's still a young player.
What about, so Elijah Moore has kind of not been as in the news, I would say, as those guys
I think so.
have.
I would bring it in.
I was a big fan of Elijah Moore coming out of the draft. I liked what he brought as far as it was kind of
Ole Miss guy, right?
Yeah, Ole Miss guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I liked that was the year that they Caleb Farley year, and I was kind of like, okay, I could see drafting Elijah Moore, first round, second round. Let's get him in the building.
He was with the Jets, right?
Yeah, he went with the Jets, and then he ended up, he's been at the Browns last year. And in fact, I watched the Browns game.
I watched a couple
Cody
games
Barton today. And Dan Moore, and man, he just gets open, and he fights for the ball and all that kind of stuff.
I'm surprised he's still not signed. I would go for him.
So
though.
that to
I
me makes me feel like, who is he being? Are the Tennessee Titans in a hard line stance situation? Because we saw it with Javon Holland, right? They said, here's our amount for Javon Holland. We don't want to pay even the $15 million. We want to be less than $15 million per year on Javon Holland. Javon Holland signs for $15.1 million per year with the New York Giants.
But what does Elijah Moore post? What do you think his value is?
Well, I don't know. But what I'm saying is then we saw with NWI, they pretty much took a hard line stance around that deal that he got with the Miami Dolphins. So, again, at what point in the situation are they being too hard line stance in their negotiation with these players? Because at the end of the day, you have to sign players at some point. And are you going to sign really cheap, inexpensive players the whole way through? Or are you going to maybe pay a little bit extra to get an Elijah Moore? And this could also be Elijah Moore's camp taking a hard line stance in this whole situation. But the Tennessee Titans have shown they have a budget and they tend to stick to it. Don't know why the budget was so high and panicky and flexible for Dan Moore, but it hasn't been flexible for other players.
I'm going to make a guess here to what you're talking about. I'm going to call it desperation for why they did with Moore. First-tier players, there's going to be inflation. There's a second tier to third tier. So depending on how much you need your player position for operation, we all know how valuable the left tackle, defensive end, and quarterbacks are. That's why then they go outside of that realm, especially when you're in a desperate spot here where they've had a lot of, let's say, unsuccessful left tackle, right tackle, offensive line play. So I think with receiver, you always feel like there's going to be other guys. So let's wait it out a little bit to the second or third tier. Guess what? It may come back to us where they become a little bit desperate. So I think they're saying that he's probably more tier 2 signing. And so they can wait because we can sign another Elijah Moore. There will be another guy like him if we miss the boat.
Would you take that strategy? Knowing the state of the offense, the wide receiver and the offense was last year? Because that's where I struggle. Like, I understand that is maybe the way that they're thinking, but is that the correct way to think? When you have, like we said, Bryce Oliver as your wide receiver 2, or Van Jefferson as your wide receiver 2, and then you're looking at guys like Mason Kinsey, Trey Harrison, Stanley Morgan, and those kinds of guys behind them.
Watch this.
Don't forget Treylon Burks.
Watch this. Do you think Elijah Moore will still be there after the draft?
No. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if he's still available by Friday.
What was his stats last year? And I watched a couple games. Yeah. He did impact the Browns. He was – so I always go like, well, who are the Browns going to use to replace him? Why are they not re-signing him? Those things kind of go through your mind. He's a good quality player.
538 yards receiving with, guys like Dorian Taylor-Robinson,
different guys
all day long.
At quarterback, which was still pretty impressive. So I like his style of play. He's kind of that, slot gadget guy that you can do reverses, great route runner, move the chain guy. So, yeah, I just think there's other players out there like him. I just think that's how they're thinking.
All right, 3HL's up next. That will do it for us here. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. We'll be out here at Bridgestone Arena for the NCAA SEC men's tournament all week long. Yeah. So come out and say hello and all that kind of jazz.
3HL next.
Yeah, 3HL's next. But in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.